Hello and a very warm welcome. It's time for Africa News Now. Here are the headlines. Examining allegations of murder, rape and child soldier recruitment, the International Criminal Court opens a second investigation into alleged crimes in Central African Republic. A cell of suspects thought to work with the Islamic State group are arrested in a joint Moroccan Spanish operation. And years of darkness ahead in South Africa as its national electricity company struggles to supply demand, prompting the government to sign deals with a Russian nuclear energy provider. Well, we're going to start in Morocco. 9 people suspected of being part of a terrorist cell linked to the Islamic State group have been arrested in a joint Moroccan and Spanish swoop. They were arrested in the Spanish enclave of Melilla. Our correspondent in Casablanca, Sarah Dublier, explains.
9 people had been arrested this morning in the area of Nador by Spanish and Moroccan police. This area of Nador is quite sensitive because of these 2 Spanish territories of Ceuta and Melilla. Moroccan citizens of the area can go freely without any visa in that 2 Spanish territories. Since several weeks, Morocco is leading many operations among Salafist circles on the Moroccan territory. It's a strong message to the United States, especially after this arrest, to show that Morocco is tackling the root problem of hiring jihadists from Morocco to Iraq and Syria, especially since yesterday the U.S. Department added to its terrorist list Harakat Sham al-Islam organization. It's a Moroccan-led organization operating now in Syria. According to Moroccan authority, more than 1,600 Moroccan people are fighting with jihadist organizations.
The World Health Organization hopes that a cure is on the horizon for the deadly Ebola virus. It says an experimental vaccine should be ready to be rolled out for wider use by early next year. This as the death toll passes the 3,000 mark and one of the worst affected countries, Sierra Leone, quarantines more than 1 million people in an attempt to stop the spread of the deadly disease.
This road links Sierra Leone's capital, Freetown, to the region affected by the Ebola virus. Military personnel have set up roadblocks. These people have their temperatures checked and must provide paperwork. And they check traffic, whether it's a motorbike, car or minibus. The sick are sent to this special tent. The journalists pass through 6 checkpoints on their way to the village. One of few men allowed to set foot in this field, disinfectants his only defence should he find an infected person.
This is the village of Kalia, a village decimated by 29 Ebola cases, resulting in 21 deaths.
The inhabitants are under military and police quarantine for 21 days, the maximum Ebola incubation period. They have 9 days left. This group check on people every morning.
Good morning. Okay.
They go from house to house, checking for symptoms of Ebola, ensuring people know the signs and how to get help early. The inhabitants of this house have all given negative responses. This man lost his wife. He's left with a 9-month-old baby.
I cannot leave the village to work. I'm worried because I cannot harvest.
At the moment, the government's providing food rations. Houses have been disinfected and regular hand washing is taking place. This man lost 9 members of his family. Now Médecins Sans Frontières are building this permanent facility. 200 volunteers are preparing it.
There are a lot of people who don't want to work here, but at the same time we have a lot of educated nurses in this country, so for that we have not been struggling much now.
They're expecting 10 patients this weekend and up to 35 in the coming days.
Prosecutors at the International Criminal Court have opened an investigation into allegations of murder, rapes and the recruitment of child soldiers in Central African Republic over the last 2 years. It's the second investigation into crimes there and comes just days after UN peacekeeping troops took over from a regional African force, a change that human rights groups say still leaves a lot to be desired in terms of security. Lieutenant General BABACAR, head of the UN mission in Central African Republic, gives us his view of the current situation there.
Today The reality is that the Muslim communities is either stranded in some kind of ghettos in Bangui in the western part or regroup in the eastern part. The reality is that despite the absence of confrontation, there is still a huge need for reconciliation between these communities. It is the purpose of the political process. And in that regard, it's important that the leadership is committed to restore the cohesion of the nation.
After weeks of intense fighting, the Libyan capital was taken over by militia groups last month. And since then, a sort of peace has returned to the city, as Nicolas Germain reports.
On this beach in Tripoli, the sound of bullets has been replaced by children's laughter. Slowly, life is returning to normal after weeks of fighting between rival militias.
The past few months have been hard on Libyans due to shortages in basic supplies like food and fuel, as well as electricity cuts. But things are starting to get back to normal, thank God.
Shopkeepers are relieved. Many of them had to close their businesses for more than a month. Tripoli's wholesalers have also gone back to work. And the relative calm means market vendors have set up their stalls again.
Thank God the people started to go out. There is now a bit of life in the market, whereas before there was no one. But now, thank God, the people are back and they are shopping.
Another positive sign in Tripoli, residents no longer have to queue at the petrol station.
Before, we used to wait 3 days to fuel our car. Now, thank God, we only wait an hour and a half.
But everyone here knows it's a fragile calm. In the suburbs, militias are still fighting. Libya remains divided. The government has relocated to Tobruk in the Far East, and Tripoli is controlled by forces from the western city of Misrata.
Regular blackouts will continue for years to come in South Africa, as the country's electricity supplier Eskom, which relies on coal to generate 80% of the country's energy, struggles to meet demands. In a bid to keep the lights on, Africa's second largest economy has signed a cooperation deal with Russia's state-owned nuclear company Rosatom, which could see the construction of a nuclear plant. This next report from our correspondents there.
When the power goes out, work stops. That's how it is for these young Khayelitsha entrepreneurs trying to earn a living. Over recent years, power cuts have become more frequent and the cost of electricity has soared.
So I'm begging government, you must do something with this electricity because it's killing us.
Businesses, small or big, are questioning why the new coal plants are still not finished. Eskom, the national electricity company, shows a 20 billion euros loss a year. There are plans to build nuclear power facilities, but these solutions are costly and far in the future. Opposition parties are worried.
I would prefer to see a more flexible energy plan than, in fact, building and locking ourselves into a nuclear future for the next 50 years.
The South African government also wants a versatile energy program. Solar energy is one option. This French company has seized the opportunity. Its solar panel assembly plant is the biggest in Africa. 150 employees working 7 days a week. And in 4 years of operating, the company has been able to profit from favorable conditions.
The price per kilowatt has risen by more than 15% a year. Over the same period, the price of the solar kilowatt has been divided by 7.
Prices are competitive and roll out rather uncomplicated. The company has also built 2 solar parks, as the government is now buying energy from private contractors.
It's a win-win, obviously, for the renewable industry, but I think certainly also for the government, and that seems to be the driver at the moment.
In South Africa, energy demand might double in 15 years. The question is, can Pretoria meet that demand?
And we're going to end this bulletin with a spot of music from a 29-year-old Egyptian jazz musician that is being heralded as a prodigy. Samuel YIRGA has been wowing crowds for over a decade already, creating his own cocktail of jazz, soul, funk, pop mixed with traditional Ethiopian vibes. He says his goal is to create a unique voice with a traditional undertone. We're going to end with the sound of his music. Do take care.